Give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here, and it's a pleasure to talk to you at BSidesFrankfurt about one of the most unusual topics. If you Google my name, I think there are 20 million hits to that on Google. Don't believe everything that you read on the internet, but I do a lot of presentations. I talk about different topics. I do a lot of unusual research as part of my career and my company, but this is definitely the most personal and the most unusual talk that I ever given. So please bear with me, and hopefully you'll find this incredible journey that we took to stop a group called Killnet fascinating, as I do. Figure out how it works. All right. The topic today is a Russian hacktivist group, Killnet. And I'm going to give you a history about it. I'm going to also talk about the group that really normalized hacktivism. Just imagine that about 5 years ago, it would be completely unheard of that one nation would weaponize its citizens to attack another nation or other nations it doesn't like. This, before Russian invasion into Ukraine in 2022, would be grounds for significant conflict, if not outright war. But we actually live in an age where hacktivism and attacks of one nation against another in cyberspace been called to be normal. And my story today about the beginnings, the roots of this, and really how to leverage cybersecurity, threat intelligence to stop a large movement like this. So let's meet Killnet. Killnet is a group in Russia that was started in November of 2021 that were just distributing denial of services service that was taking money for its targets. And this happens quite a bit. It was not a single source or single service. It was one of the run-of-the-mills, and its first targets were in Russia were highly unusual. In fact, in November and December of 2021, Killnet DDoS services were used to attack these type of groups, and these are different Russian government groups. As you can see, based on their logos, they don't have much of imagination. The chicken, whatever they have, kind of looks the same everywhere. But imagine that the group that became prolific in attacking Russian enemies was first targeting Russian government. This didn't go unnoticed, and just 3 months after the beginning of its existence, on a day before the Russian invasion into Ukraine in 2022, Killnet actually changes its tune. It declares its allegiance to the Russian government, and it becomes a voice of Russian hacktivists across Russia. It's interesting that it starts its attack, its first cyber attacks against the anonymous group. They start DDoSing the anonymous group websites, and anonymous group been very prolific. They've been around for quite a long time. The day of anonymous group actions for years been my birthday. There is a coincidence to that because I don't work on my birthday, and somebody figured out it's going to be fun to create difficult things. But Killnet actually targets anonymous and anonymous groups. Killnet actually goes much further, and it just in May of 2022 starts attacking not only Ukrainian targets, but anybody who would support Ukraine. This is interesting and unusual, and it starts growing its following on Telegram and other places where it advertises for a number of interesting reasons. Killnet in its ranks, not only enveloping hacktivists and hackers from Russia, but it's actually inviting into its ranks previously unprecedented number of individuals simply who did not consider themselves hackers in the past. Imagine this. Before the Russian invasion into Ukraine, a number of individuals from Russia called their employers here in Europe, in the United States, around the world, and they were actually gainfully employed there. But after the Russian invasion into Ukraine, many companies, almost all companies in Europe and the United States, within a week or two, fired every single employee of theirs who lived and worked in Russia. So a number of not only cybersecurity, but a lot of IT personnel, developers, system administrators, even help desk, all of a sudden became unemployed and very, very angry at their employers. They were not angry for some reason at the country, at the government, because they're not allowed to be angry, but they actually were angry that they lost their livelihood. And they actually most of them were making quite a bit of money working for Western companies in very poor areas of Russia. So these individuals had skills, technical skills, and they had resolve to start joining hacktivist movements. Think about this. Individuals are not career cyber criminals, still can do a lot of damage. First of all, many of these ex-IT employees still held keys to their employers. They had passwords, maybe not their own, but the group passwords or joint accounts. They understood well their infrastructures they used to support and develop. And also they had unique skills. Imagine that even in DDoS attack, the DDoS attack does not need to happen just basically on network layer. It can be overwhelming a routing protocol. It can be overwhelming basic application by creating very expensive queries or search terms and really exhausting resources on the web server that they're trying to target. These are individuals who had skills, knowledge, and definitely motivation in order to start all these attacks. And they had a lot of spare time. In fact, one of my most interesting, probably favorite character in Killnet, according to one guy who was writing about this in the channel, was his grandma. He said that his grandmother joined Killnet. In fact, for about an hour a day, she sits at her computer and opens Internet Explorer, he said, and clicks reload button as quickly as possible on this site that was targeted for DDoS. And well, we are not particularly afraid of that grandma, and the grandma can be definitely stopped by us riders at least. But we see that almost anybody who wanted could join this group. At its height, Killnet followings were over 100,000 individuals from Russia, not counting everybody else who were just lurking or spying on the group. And it was extremely troubling, extremely difficult. Well, Killnet was not known for a lot of big takedowns, and they were mostly doing DDoS attacks. The interesting findings, the interesting exploitations were filtered by leadership of Killnet to other Russian APTs and to their government sponsors. But the DDoS attacks were not particularly powerful. The big thing is that when they started a DDoS attack, they were just targeting the main site of a company, and as soon as that site became unavailable, they would call this a victory and move on to a different target. This is rather interesting and not greatly effective. For example, they would attack www.boeing.com. And while Boeing is a huge company, it's a popular company, Boeing didn't lose much business of this. Not many people who come and buy things from Boeing, like a plane, go on the main site and like, okay, I want to order a plane, put it in a shopping cart. So nobody does that, and if a site is down, it's not a significant outage. But here's an example. On January 27th of 2023, This post on your left, translated on the right, was placed by KillMilk, who was leader of Killnet. And this is a call by him to start attacking hospitals. He is citing that the support of Western culture of Ukrainians really incites the attacks against the hospitals and medical institutions. He is suggesting to target United States, Portugal, Spain, Germany, Poland, Finland, and many other countries. And he is suggesting DDoS attacks. As a postscriptum at the very bottom there, he says, kill them first. These are the enemies that we are facing. This is a hacktivist collective. And if you don't find this repulsive, attacking a hospital barely out of a COVID era and trying to cause trouble, this is what this hacktivist group was about. And yes, some of the DDoS attacks, even this attack against hospitals, was not greatly successful. In fact, one of the targets was a gift shop in the hospital that we're working with, and I've been to that gift shop. You can buy a teddy bear, you can buy flowers, you can buy candy for your loved one who may be in the hospital, but not much you can do damage to that gift shop. In fact, they actually use dedicated internet connection for the gift shop. But in the rural areas, in the smaller towns, where a hospital has only one internet connection without much redundancy, for their emergency communications, for their ability to get medical information from one place to another, there were real outages and real problems. Thankfully, no reports of any kind of serious injuries or loss of life. So let's take a look at who are the people behind this group. KillMilk, who is probably the most prolific member of Killnet, and deriving his name also from the name of the group, is highly credited as the guy who established this. Meet Nikolai Serafimov, who was less than 30 years old when Killnet was started. And this particular individual looks normal. He is a husband and a musician. In fact, he was a musician for the past 10 years, trying to release several tracks. Looked as a relatively normal person, one can also call him a patriot. These are pictures from his social media from the time he was serving in a Russian army, where this was a mandatory thing back about 12, 13 years ago. But he is all that, definitely not a patriot. He's also a fascist and racist. Well, I'm not going to be showing you specific excerpts for this. Just believe me that the comments that he's making, the behavior that he was exhibiting most of his life, definitely meets this criteria. He's also not a very happy young man. He writes in his social media that there will be payback against everybody in his life who kept him down once he gets to a certain level of height and career. He is also a career drug user and drug dealer. He spends his entire life around drugs, and this is one of the components of his demise. In 2013, in Russian social media, while taking one of those quizzes, like, who am I going to be when I grow up, or something like that, he's also answering questions like, what things do you like? Illegal drugs. What controls your mood? He answers that my mood is being controlled by amount of drugs in my system. In 2017, the justice in Russia finally catches up with him. He actually gets imprisoned and convicted under Article 228.1, Part 5 of Russian Criminal Code. Not that I expect you to know that code, but it's an interesting note that in 2017 he gets convicted on this particular thing that is prescribing 8 years of prison with minimum 4-year sentence to be served. Serafimov, who, according to court documents, actually fully cooperated with the authorities, serves only 1 year or less of this sentence, which is unheard of for Russian criminals convicted of illegal drug deals. He should have served at least 4 years, and Russian law is very stern about this. Why did this happen? Within a year of his conviction, we already see the move of his activities back on. He is taking credit, he is making social media posts, he is moving around Russia. Most likely, he actually turned over and started ratting out his friends in the drug business. Most likely, he made a deal, but not with the Russian justice system, which is relatively stern about this. But he makes a deal with the Russian government, who is starting to control his actions and builds this control over him. So from that perspective, we are seeing in cyber threat intelligence practice that we run, we are seeing these activities, and we are seeing that this group, led by KillMilk, is reaching new lows, new highs in the dark web and the criminal world. We set out a group shortly after Killnet actually started attacking different targets. Shortly after, the Russian government, Duma members, were actually endorsing Killnet and calling them patriots. In fact, one member of Duma, which is a governing body of Russia, called being in Killnet equivalent of serving in a Russian army. So looking at all of this, we form a group within our company of 9 individuals who are tasked to figure out how to take down Killnet. So there are 9 of us, there are 100,000 of them. Let's figure out what to do. The opportunity actually opens itself not quickly, but quick enough that on October 9th of 2022, just 6 months into the war, KillMilk is giving an interview. He is high on power, high on fame, and he is talking to Russian state-controlled media called RT, Russian television, and answering a number of questions. We got interested in this particular excerpt where he is being asked if his group has any support outside of Russia, and he is crediting a group called Solaris for existence of Killnet. He basically says that if not our dark web friends Solaris, Killnet would not exist. So we are reading this and we're like, okay, well, that's a clue. If there is no Solaris, there is no Killnet, I see a kill chain here. No pun intended. So that's how we decide to set out and figure out what to do next. Now, I'm going to do a very belated introduction, probably the latest introduction I've done into any talks. And I want to tell you a little bit about why we're taking out this task. So my name is Alex, and I was born in Ukraine many years ago. My family immigrated to the United States in 1989, and for the past 36 years, I live in a town called Milwaukee in the state of Wisconsin, which is about 100 kilometers north of Chicago. So I spent my entire adult life in the United States, but I still call Ukraine my home. I spent my entire career in IT and cybersecurity. And I spent my entire career also understanding cyber criminals and figuring out how to stop them. The actions that we made in the beginning of war with Ukraine was to open office in Kiev, Ukraine, in order to support them and give them ability also to do something good in the world. But the highlight of my resume, number one thing that I think should be in the beginning of my resume is this. I've been making Vladimir Putin mad since 2014. In August of 2014, we did a little thing on the front page of New York Times where we unearthed probably the biggest breach to that date and one of the biggest to date perpetrated by Russian cyber criminals. And Vladimir Putin was unhappy with me personally. I was told that I was put on his naughty list. As my official response, I put sanctions against him as well. He's not allowed in my house. But he is welcome to stay in my garage while a couple of my Ukrainian friends are going to play bad cop and bad cop. But we've been working and trying to stop cyber criminals from Russia and many other places very diligently. So when we see this, we actually figure out what to do next. And the interesting thing is that we know Solaris. We know Solaris well. We figure out how to use Solaris as a weak point of Killnet. In fact, when we are targeting something like this, we are coming up with a very complex plan. We're coming up with a Hail Mary, a chance 1 out of 1,000 or million, whatever it is, and saying we have a plan to see what would happen next. And as our next actions, we go on the front page of Forbes magazine, trying to do a difference in the world. We actually have quite a bit of knowledge and access to Solaris. We get inside of Solaris group and get them to transfer money from their repositories, from their stores, into Ukrainian charity that helps elderly in difficult time of war. So this is what Forbes writes about, but I'll tell you how this came about. So Solaris is a illegal drug market within Russia. It actually was established by a guy named Zanzi in 2017. And Zanzi is infamous for creating a number of different illegal drug marketplaces in Russia. At its height, it operated over 1,000 shops on the dark web in different cities of Russia, selling illegal drugs electronically to the drug users of Russia. And this is a whole big microeconomy that Solaris had, where there was a separate marketplace, separate forums, separate shops, and full supply chain for the drug dealers. But Zanzi was not outside of Russia. When KillMilk is saying that he's thinking his Solaris as a foreign group, Zanzi is actually being tracked by us in various places in Moscow. He's moving around Moscow, at least his phone is. So we decided to take out Solaris. And the reason why we have visibility into Solaris is that because we have, as a cyber threat intelligence company, we have great interest in illegal drug trade in Russia. Not because we actually care about that part, because it's a job of Russian government to stop their illegal drug trade, but it's actually a very interesting thing that the drug users in Russia, some of them very infamous cyber criminals, tend to buy their drugs next to their home, so they live nearby where they buy their drugs. And because the cyber criminals on dark web tend to reuse their nicknames and identities, we can actually trace them down to their physical location within Russia or wherever they're buying their drugs. So we actually tracking where they are based on their geolocations and where they are buying their illegal drugs. So we had ability to infiltrate Solaris. So we infiltrate Solaris, we get on the front pages of Forbes, but I'm sure you want to know how we did it. So in 2017, 2018, Zanzi reaches out to us, the guy who designed this, because he had a technical problem, and he approached one of our alter egos on dark web, and he was asking for technical assistance. And we do portray ourselves on dark web sometimes as technical experts that we are. He had problems with some PHP code that was not running, and he asked us to help. So we said, well, of course, we'll take a look. We'll try to help. And he gave us root access to one of his servers. So we were nice enough to ask if he, if it's going to be okay to make sure that we put in additional safeguards so we don't get locked out of the system. He said, okay. So we installed a backdoor on that server. Well, he said we could. It's legal if he asked for it. We forgot to remove it, but we also couldn't figure out how to make his PHP code work because we didn't look. But we had this backdoor available for us, and once they went to so Tor nodes connecting back was just a piece of cake because nobody ever looks at Tor traffic. So we are inside, but it's a big network of the entire infrastructure is about 40 servers. We have access to 1.5 servers, so 2 servers. So what do we do? It's extremely secure system. They build it very, very securely. It's protected. There are WireGuard, DDoS protection, everything. There are also .ssh file with authorization to connect to other servers, which makes it easier for us. But we couldn't get to every server. So we went to Ansible because Ansible allows us to automate things, and they were automating a lot of things. So we ran a couple things on Ansible and to gain access to all the other servers. But we couldn't get to all the servers like that. So we went to the Zabbix configurations, and they were monitoring system for uptime, and ran local scripts through Zabbix. And then we gained access to all their servers. That's what I know. We actually don't transfer money ourselves. We let them transfer money themselves from their daily gains, which amounted to about 45,000 euros when the charity converted this to money. But they actually transfer all the money themselves from instead of to their own wallets to the crypto wallets of this great Ukrainian charity. So they do that. Forbes publishes the article, and then Solaris says, no, there was no breach. They actually asking people to look themselves, saying, hey, everything is up. Your money is not gone, maybe, but we'll find out. Don't worry about it. There was absolutely no breach. That's the long statement in Russian. They say, well, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Everything is fixed. So we didn't believe them. We go to the GitLab repository because they fixed everything. They kicked us out. But GitLab really shows that they changed the Tor node address. They changed the logo, the copyright date, and the Bitcoin address where they were depositing. So they didn't do much. And we kind of confirming this and say, hey, we still have full access. And then 3 weeks later, we actually, to make sure that people hear us, publish this on our site with a full exposure of Solaris infrastructure. Not only that, we actually publish their source code. We publish the entire marketplace, databases of communications, money transfers, and treasure trove of information. Now, at that point, they actually start paying attention. The competing group called Kraken, which is also a legal drug marketplace, takes over the exit Tor nodes for Solaris, taking over and routing traffic to themselves. Meanwhile, Solaris panics and closes down their site for repairs for several weeks. They never really recover. From 1,000 shops, they came back with about 30 to 40 shops that were functioning. And while it took them significantly longer than we anticipated to die, in 2024, this illegal drug marketplace actually called it quits, shut down, and never appeared again, which is a good thing. Now we had to weather the storm. Weathering the storm was not particularly pleasant. There were cyber threats. KillMilk considers me his arch nemesis. I don't consider him an arch nemesis, but there were threats. There was doxing, which is unpleasant, and also we got targeting. Thankfully, to our local police department, there were several swatting attempts, and our local police department was very understanding and very easy to work with. So these issues did not present any physical threats to me and my family. And while we still had the ability to access systems of Solaris till very last day, as I said, this image of Ronald McDonald, which was running a store on Solaris infrastructure, warning deaths of Ramp, illegal Russian drug marketplace in 2017, seeing how another illegal drug marketplace, Hydra, died in 2022. In 2024, Solaris also bit the dust. Now, what's happening with Killnet? In our publications, in Forbes publication, we're actually calling out publicly connection of the Russian drug marketplace and the Russian hacktivists. This is a key connection between the two, which actually allows everybody to see that Russian hacktivism not only powering Russian pride, but also powering Russian illegal drugs and illegal drug trade. And the Russian government is not happy. Russian government actually does not like competition and things that they don't control. And they thought they controlled KillMilk. In February of 2023, supposedly, but based on much secondary data, KillMilk and Killnet lose Russian government funding and support. There is an unraveling of Killnet and KillMilk that happens throughout 2023. It is visible. On the personal side, KillMilk is hurting, he is raving about this, but on the public side, he is making statements. He is making statements saying that altruism is over. From now, Solaris is going to be making money off individuals who want to hire them to do hacktivist activities. But he didn't really explain how 100,000 members of Solaris are going to get paid. He was mostly talking about himself. Then he disbands a group. He disbands the entire group, saying that now I don't trust anybody. Killnet is over. I'm working there alone. You are all fired. Then he said, I'm kidding, and before too many people left the channel. Then he actually hands over control of Killnet to the guy called Blackside. He is saying that to stop these issues that are happening to Killnet, I'm stepping away. Now the guy Blackside is in charge. And then later that day, somebody says, well, remember a year and a half ago, your nickname on the dark web was Blackside? He's like, oh yeah, I forgot. So this handover did not happen either. On October 6th of 2023, KillMilk and Killnet makes actually a statement that makes sense. He called for peace. This call for peace was interesting. He's actually suggesting that Killnet from that point on should not be attacking any civilian targets in Ukraine or anybody else. They should be following the Red Cross guidelines, not causing any outages, any issues that can harm civilians and individuals. He makes a plea to the members to understand that this is just a war and actions in theater of war are acceptable, but anything that hurts civilians is not. That was October 6th of 2023. And that was a relatively peaceful day in our world, even though the war in Ukraine was raging. Because on October 7th of 2023, as many of us may remember, Hamas did their terrorist attack against Israel. And KillMilk changes his story. He actually condemns the government of Israel, supports Hamas, and calls for destruction of all the enemies of Russia, returning back to the normal flow of things. But Killnet in 2024 changes completely. In January of 2024, KillMilk actually sells a channel via Killnet from his control to a group called the Anan Club. The Anan Club claims paying between $10,000 and $50,000 for control of that channel. KillMilk no longer feels that he is in control. And via Killnet channel, now down to only 3,000 members from 100,000 plus, changes direction as well. And you guys would never believe what they done for the past 2 years. This entire channel via Killnet now dedicated to fighting illegal Russian drug trade. They actually, I don't know where they got the idea, but we see that they dedicated themselves not only to hacktivist activities, but also to fighting Russian illegal drug trade, doxing their drug lords, drug dealers, trying to take down the illegal drug marketplaces. I can tell you actually a common sense reason for this, not our example. Russian government withdrew their support for Killnet, but now under new management, they were hoping to rebuild Killnet, and they were actually doing opposite of how Killnet got into bad graces of Russian government. Or this can be also the Russian government itself trying to right their wrongs. We don't know, but it's not a bad thing. But KillMilk actually changes his life differently. The Russian media itself in 2023 doxes KillMilk. And while we knew his identity for quite a while, the entire Russian population now knows who KillMilk is, and they're not happy about it. Not that anybody's going after him, but nobody really cares. And while he was initially denying, then said, yeah, it's me, still nobody cares. Starting in February of 2023, once the Russian government withdrew its support, KillMilk had significant money problems. He files for bankruptcy in April, I think, 2023. He pawns all his cars, actually trying to take loans to get as much money as possible from these cars, his and his wife's. He also tries to join different projects. And he's trying to make money any way he wants. But when he actually joins different projects, he makes a big deal. There may be excitement, more activities in that channel on Telegram for a day or two, and then nobody cares. Then he starts fighting with people within the group, and he gets kicked out. Mostly, he makes his money out of selling something called School of Darknet training. And he's offering this for about $300 up to $30,000. I didn't buy this, but I read the reviews. Reviews are not great. Basically, they say as soon as you pay, he stops talking to you and sporadically sends you links that he finds on Google, and don't buy it. Most of what he does, he gets into flame wars. The most interesting thing that he does, he actually goes back and starts recording music. He records a couple profanity-ridden tracks about Biden and others. Nothing worth listening. Don't buy his tracks. But that's about all about him. Earlier this year, he spread the rumor that he died, and 2 days later, he came back and said, I was not killed, it was close. There were like 5 likes to that post. But let's talk about the legacy that Killnet left in the world. This is a way of hacktivism. The wave of hacktivism, as I mentioned in the beginning, that actually started in a very terrible way, and it normalized attacks of one nation to another. This is experiment of Russian government to weaponize the entire population. And while 100,000 people in Russia is not that much percentage-wise, it shows that one nation can engage into cyber warfare against its enemies without declaring a formal war. And this example was actually set beyond Russia. We see the same thing happening in the Middle East right now. When one nation can attack another one in cyberspace, one group, religious or political, can attack another group without much repercussions. In 2024, we saw political spat between Canada and India, and the very next day, hacktivists from India start attacking Canadian citizens across the entire internet, doxing, releasing information on Canadian citizens. This is a legacy of Killnet that we have to reckon with. We also see that hacktivism now does not only belong on the dark web. Hacktivism right now is a main movement of individuals. We see hacktivist activities within our social media. We see hacktivist activities on popular instant messengers. We actually see the knowledge that's being shared as well across hacktivist collectives. We also see that propaganda becomes a big deal in cyber warfare. Killnet did not do much damage by actually hacking systems. They did a lot of damage by talking about this. They spent time photoshopping the leaders of Lockheed Martin and Boeing in the caskets, saying that if you're working for these companies, this will happen to you. This was effective to put these companies on lockdown. We've seen attacks against hospitals. We've seen attacks against financial institutions. We've seen airports shut down because of intended cyber attacks. This is a legacy of Killnet that is visible, and it was extremely well highlighted in the media. But the positive thing about the story is that a group of 9 people set out to find an Achilles heel of a giant. Ukrainian media called this activities 9 people standing against a herd of Russians, and finding this Achilles heel that actually stopped this group dead. I'm not going to take credit for taking down Killnet completely. It was a community movement. It was a good way to highlight weaknesses and letting Killnet handlers and members to unravel themselves. But it was also activities of law enforcement, other cybersecurity professionals, and governments to do the right thing. Also, want to say that while Killnet is dead, the other hacktivist groups like Anonymous Sudan and many others, no-name groups, they were born, but they were much smaller and much better controlled by Russian government. The experiment that Russians tried to do with Killnet had failed, and finding this Achilles heel for us as cybersecurity professionals is a feat. I don't want to say it's big, but it is big. And I can tell you that each one of you, having special skills, having good understanding of what you're doing, can also make a difference on this scale, on smaller scale, in different way. But as cybersecurity professionals, we can find these weaknesses, we can leverage things, and we can actually be David that takes down the Goliath. This is all that I had as my presentation today, but I think we have a couple minutes for questions. Any questions?
Thank you. So my question is regarding this Solaris. Was there any customer data, so of drug users, and did you publish it as well? Because it could also result in many arrests of drug users.
Yes. So we published their forum database where people were communicating. We published their cryptocurrency and financial transactions because they actually had an exchange of Russian credit cards or debit cards into cryptocurrency. So we published quite a bit of information to be able to identify those because most of these activities were inside Russia. We don't know if Russians actually paid attention to that or not. I'm assuming quite a bit of Russian authorities also use these services, but definitely there was enough information, and we actually partnered with several crypto investigation groups to track down the crypto wallets to identify threat actors and also some interesting individuals who resided outside of Russia as well. So yes. All right, thank you.